Okay, well, hello everyone. Welcome to this month's Vendor Spotlight webinar featuring Optimum Fleet Health, sponsored by Protective Insurance. I'm Tom Kim with Rhodes, provider of the platform powering the Protective Insurance marketplace. For the next 30 minutes, you'll learn how Optimum Fleet Health's VRX predictive engine uses telematics data to predict system failures and quality issues in your fleet before they ever happen. With over 8,000 proprietary key performance indicators, imagine what it would mean for your maintenance organization if you could detect unforeseen issues, diagnose the costs, predict relative time to failure, and prescribe a detailed fix up to 4 weeks in advance. To kick it off, Harry Stork from Protective Insurance will share a few thoughts, followed by a presentation from Clay Catcher and Neil Conkle from Optimum Fleet Health. We'll wrap up the session by viewing the Optimum Fleet Health solution on the Protective Insurance marketplace. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen and we'll address all questions at the end of the session. Now over to Harry.
Thanks, Tom, and thanks everyone for joining today. This looks to be a great webinar. Many of our clients often are looking for solutions on how to improve their predictive maintenance, leveraging the power of solutions that they already have, in this case, telematics. So we're happy to have Optimum as a member of our Protective Marketplace and hosting this month's webinar. So with that, I'll turn it over to the folks at Optimum.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Harry. It's Clay Catcher from Optimum Fleet Health. I look after the development here at OFH, and we also have my colleague, Neil Conkle, as well. We'll both be leading the walkthrough of our presentation today, and just want to make sure you guys walk away from this presentation knowing more about our system, our solution, and how we can cover your bottom line. We'll first start off with a quick case study. In our first slide here, you can see it's a 5,000 vehicle fleet for this case study over 2020 in the heavy duty space. So as you can see here, we offered our client, or this specific client, the dynamic fault code detection weeks in advance. These specific operations and fleets made sure they're very proactive. As soon as one of our actual incidents came in, they brought it into the shop, they fixed it, and they said, you know what, this was an underlying issue. The asset didn't go down. As you can see on the actual graph, we started off and it was pretty difficult for each vehicle, right? The first 10 or 12 weeks was very high. The incidents for these vehicles and the volume coming in was very high. And over the course of the year, we were able to reduce the actual incident reduction in the brake side of things by 50%, charging callouts by 79, coolant by 54, engine by 66, exhaust by 70%, and fuel by 92%. So those are huge direct savings for our client in this operation. And we'll just kind of dig down into one specific engine code that we actually rolled out for this client. So in the previous slide, you could see in week 26, there was a little bit of a jump. Our client actually came to us and they operated around 12 to 15% CNG assets. So they're having multiple engine misfires, and we were actually able to go into our system, work with the client and understand what the underlying issue was, build a proper signature, and then call out actual cylinder-based engine misfires in their heavy-duty fleets, as well as multiple, right? So when we started calling those out, our incident rates came up a little bit, but we were actually able to save them a couple engines per location per month. So that's a quick little case study before we actually get into our operation, what we do and how we can benefit your operation. So quick features and benefits. We step into operations and improve operational efficiency right away, right? So we understand there's a bit of a lag of technology within the industry, and now with telematics available, all the engine data coming off of 1939 and through the ECU, we're actually able to predict 3 to 4 weeks in advance before you guys are stuck on the side of the road with the engine down, tow costs, or running higher costs due to renting vehicles, right? So we eliminate the need for multiple OEM solutions, possibly within your connected devices right now. You may have a Cummins Connect, a specific Allison or something for the transmission. We harness everything together and actually have the predictive side in it as well. So instead of getting, let's say, 50 or 100 raw fault notifications for your assets each day, we take all of that in and actually risk what's needed and what you guys really need to look at. So if you get an incident, it actually is actionable. And our main cause is to reduce or eliminate towing costs completely and make sure your fleet's running at full uptime.
Thanks, Clay. So our AI engine was built and tested based upon years of mechanic knowledge straight from the shop, and then processed by our data scientists. We can show you how to easily access all of your data and see every aspect of your fleet's operation via our portal. Once our system is up and running, we follow up with our clients to maintain quality, but also update and tweak the system based on direct feedback from you.
Perfect. And just of our components we actually cover, Neil will follow up with those in the next slide, but a quick high level for brake side of things. So ABS, toner rings, sensors, exhaust is a big issue that we see, especially throughout the summer months, as an escalation process of our signatures going from coolant, high or low coolant temps, and escalating into EGR coolers, EGR valves shutting down assets, and also engine misfires and turbo side of things. So that's kind of a couple quick points that we'll cover on some subcomponents.
Thanks, Clay. Here you go, the process.
Perfect. So high level of our process, so we can break it down just simple. So we work with the TSP that the assets already run on, right? So just to lower the actual hardware costs and eliminate, we work with a provider that's already in the existing fleet. We take all of that diagnostic fault and measurement information in raw form, ingest it into our cloud infrastructure, process all behind the scenes using our predictive analytics engine, and risk through our 8,000 KPIs. You know what's a low, medium, a low, a medium, or a high risk. So a low risk we deem is 3 to 4 weeks out. So that's an issue that's underlying. It may escalate in severity, but there's no real harm shutting that asset down or having a road call. A medium is 2 to 3 weeks out, right? So the escalation process has proceeded from a low, but it's not quite yet a high. And then we have a high incident, which is 1 week to imminent failure. So at any time, the frequency of that asset might actually go down and cause you downtime, extra leasing costs, unwanted shop time, and even increased expenditures. So that's what we do in step 2. And step 3, once we actually understand and risk your assets on an individual basis in real time, we send out to your service managers an email saying what the incident was, what the risk of that is, and the escalation path of that. So if you want to service it, send it in for service. It's at a click of a button, and a work order will be created. And step 4 as well, we also have a live map that Neil will get into here right away, that you're able to see the real-time events of your asset.
Thanks, Clay. And as Clay said, we send out automatic emails for each alert progression without flooding your inbox. So here's a look at one region where our system was just recently implemented. On the left, you can see our color-coded icons list, which includes vehicle location, alert details, issue severity, maintenance action taken, vehicle ID, and vehicle class. The wrench icon indicates that maintenance has been scheduled with the integrated maintenance management system while still showing color-coded severity. Also at the top of the dashboard, you'll see the fleet readiness bar, which is a quick view of mission-ready vehicles. When you click on a vehicle, you'll notice on the right side of the screen a real-time date stamp, which is important for tracking. Another great feature is our unlimited display and reporting options. You can print these details or export them as reports in Excel organized by region, issue, vehicle ID, component failure, and history. Now here's a region where the client has been using our system for a few months, and you'll notice that there are considerably more green icons, and most of the vehicles that have an alert have also been scheduled for maintenance. If you look at the fleet readiness bar at the top, you can see that downtime has been significantly reduced. So these assets are ready to roll.
Perfect. Thanks, Neil. We'll now step into if your team wants to escalate a situation to an actual work order. So on our interactive map here, you can see there's a wrench. So a wrench signifies that that's already been scheduled for maintenance. So let's say in this fleet, you're to click any icon, yellow, medium, yellow for low, orange for medium, or a high incident, which is red. If you're to click any of those, the right-hand side would populate, and that would actually show you the affected system, the emerging problem, a D rate, current condition of that asset, and as well the corrective procedure, which is a main staple point for a lot of our clients, where the technician already knows what the issue is before it comes in, and they don't have to plug in a diagnostic laptop and look through hundreds of raw codes. They already know what the issue is and how they can fix it. So if you're a service manager, you simply click one of these icons, and on the action menu, just drop down that menu and hit schedule for maintenance. As soon as you create the work order, we actually integrate into several CMMS or ERP solutions where we can push all of that and all of the information needed. So it's seamless for your integration. So if you use RTA, let's say Zendu MA, Fleetio for your current PM schedules, we'd actually push our work order right into that flow. So it's seamless for your operation.
Thanks, Clay. So let's take a look at another feature from the portal. And this is our real-time snapshot of the fleet. And with this dashboard, we get a 30-day trending analysis, including work order action, incidents by severity, the affected vehicle systems, all daily notifications, an overview of the top 10 new incidents. And you can also get a fleet health daily report, which can include your entire fleet, and reports can also be broken down by specific regions or simply by location. Continuing on at the same page, we have a great way to see changes throughout the season and how it affects your fleet. It's also a great visualization for the effects of elevation on components and systems such as coolant and exhaust. Obviously, you'll see drastically different issues in a mountain region than you would in cities with lower elevations and temperatures. This section is very useful for understanding fleet maintenance by region specifically.
That's great. Thanks, Neil. And as you can see in those previous slides as well, what we aim to do is eliminate the visual and the implicated needs of just getting raw data from the TSP, as we'll actually have actionable events. So we completely eliminate the ghost codes or the false positives. So here are Stay Fit Live. It's a list edit mode where you can go in, or your team can go in. Let's say you're stepping into a safety meeting in the morning or a scheduled service meeting. Your maintenance manager can do a list edit, can filter down, let's say, exhaust issues with a high severity in decreasing timestamp, and then actually export that to CSV Excel or print it, right? So your whole team can go in and deal with the issues at hand for each asset.
Very handy to have. Thanks, Clay. So this is our Stay Fit timeline analysis. It's an easy way to view the fleet's historical maintenance. This feature outputs all past issues and provides historical timeline records for the incidents and events. We display exactly how low severity issues that were not resolved by the service manager progressed into medium and then high severity events, possibly resulting in downtime for that vehicle. You also get an action history, which is precisely when a specific alert was sent by the system and what action was taken. And finally, there's also a timestamp for when the alert was completed or dismissed.
That's great. And then, thanks, Neil. I find that timeline analysis great for digging into any type of investigation. We'll next go into return on investment. So I mean, this can get really complicated, and anyone on the line, feel free to reach out to us after. We run our full fleet and operation and industry segments for each one of these, but this is kind of the high level payback, depending on fleet size, towing costs, engine rebuild costs, and then we have about 15 or 20 other parameters. So what it actually breaks out to is around $550 a month per savings per asset on a large fleet basis, and being a payback of around 8 hours a month, which is very reasonable. And we also aim to reduce the spare ratios, right? So when your fleet is driving uptime, your fleet's on the road, you aren't taking an asset out for a CNG rebuild for 20 to 30 days or a turbo for a week or so. And you can reduce your spares in the yard or your leasing costs. We can also narrow that down as well. So that's included in the actual monthly savings per truck. But if anyone on the line wants to get more in depth, we do break it out per component, as well as our top 20 signatures in each of our components over the last year, and a breakdown escalation from low, if you fix that at a low severity, compared to if you let that escalate to, let's say, a full wiring harness rather than a little wiring fix, and then an escalation past that might take out your turbo or something along those lines. So just please feel free to reach out and we can dig into your fleet and send you all the information needed. But that just about sums up our presentation today. I think we'll get into our Q&A section. So anyone on the line, just please feel free to reach out through the chat box or verbally, and we'd be happy to answer any questions.
So actually, Clay, we'll wait for the end to tackle the Q&A. Thank you, Clay. Yeah, that was a very insightful presentation. Let me just take over this screen here. So now I'd like to take a moment to give everyone a quick tour of the Protective Insurance Marketplace. Here is where you'll be able to submit a request info, which I'll show you shortly. And you can contact Clay and Neil and team if you have any questions about today's presentation or about the solution in general. Also, just before I start, you'll notice in the chat menu, there is a link to this marketplace. So please feel free to visit after the webinar. So here on the homepage of the marketplace, you'll see numerous categories to the left and solutions to the right. These are all related to safety and risk management. You can also see on the bottom here on the left, there's a resources section. Here, you'll be able to view webinars that have been hosted in the past, and we'll also put today's recording here as well. So now let's take a look at Optimum Fleet Health Solution. You can either find it by scrolling down the list of solutions, or you can actually search by category, which in this case is preventive maintenance. So if you click on preventive maintenance, you'll see the Optimum Fleet Health Solution here. And by clicking on this card, it'll open up the full solution listing. And here you'll be able to see a quick overview, a pricing with exclusive discounts for protective clients. There'll be a longer description down here, a media carousel, which actually has featured highlights and videos, a features and benefits section, a who it's for, and here you can see that heavy duty class 7 through 8 trucks are covered. And there's an About Us section where you can learn more about Optimum Fleet Health. And then lastly, there's a resources section, which has additional brochures and more informative collateral. So to get more information on the Optimum Fleet Health solution and to speak to their team, you can actually click on the request info button here. It's a quick wizard where you can submit your contact and fleet info, and someone from their team will reach out to discuss your business needs. So there you have it, folks, a one-stop shop to find safety and risk management solutions that will solve your fleet needs. Now, at this point, we'll wrap up with the Q&A portion of this webinar. And it does look like we have some here. So let me just start reading them off. And this will be for Neil Clay. So first, will the TSP identify an exhaust leak?
Yes, absolutely. So we cover each one of the sensors. And usually the escalation path of that as well. So typically our analytics that we can see escalation path all the way from low coolant or high temp signatures and escalation path into the exhaust. EGR valves and leaks as well. So yeah, we cover a full suite of the exhaust. The data there is very valuable and saved a tremendous amount of downtime on SCRs, NOx sensors, everything along those lines.
Great, thank you, Clay. The next question, could you share details about false positive, negative indications of your analytics engine?
Yeah, of course. Well, we run quite a bit of analytics, and of course we understand that our system can't understand absolutely everything. We do have feedback from mechanics, a feedback loop that wasn't shown today, but it just makes it simple. Let's say if we're operating a fleet that's a little bit more sensitive in one area or has a different geographic location, and your team is comfortable operating, let's say on the coolant temp, or you're getting too many alerts on the coolant side of things, you can reach out to us or use the feedback loop to say, you know what, we're comfortable operating out of these bounds. We're getting too much of these. This is normally where our fleet is. And then we adjust and our system adjusts sensitivities in the background. So it's tailored to your fleet. There are several nuances as you work with different fleets across different industries in North America, where you run across situations where those sensitivities per make and model can change as well. So does that answer your question? Is that what you're going for?
Yeah, I think that does, Clay. Thank you. Appreciate it. Let's see. The next question, is there any development needed from my team for you to take and use our TSP data?
No, that's a great question. So through roads, that would be driven through, and any ingest on the API side, we've completely integrated into roads, and the raw data would be supplied to roads in this facet to move forward.
Great. And then it looks like in line with that question, there's a question, how long does it take to become an active customer? I'm assuming this is the onboarding process.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so I'll touch base on a little snippet. So when we roll out to larger fleets, let's say the fleet size is 10,000, right? Normally we'd roll out. We can start ingesting the data right away. If you actually have the data set back 30 days, we typically would reach out to that client. We do the full ingest of that, and it would be live plus 30 days back set of that data, and you could be operating the system tomorrow or as soon as we have access to that data, and it would be live. You could run through it. With larger operations, normally it would be 3 to 5 test sites that we'd go out to. Myself and our team would actually go out and go through our product, provide a quick reference guides, how to use it, what the workflow of our solution is to your team. We normally do a 3-week to 1-month trial period, which is completely free. And then we'd move on to the full app, not full application, but the full rollout to your entire fleet. So it is pretty seamless. There are different situations where we can bring on a client in the afternoon sometimes, have them all trained up, and they're fully operational the next morning at 9 a.m. and use the system diligently. So it's really whatever fits your needs within your operation, and we deal with that quite a bit. So we're happy to assist in any way.
And it looks like there was actually a follow-up question to that. How about the 50 to 100 units, since there aren't that many 10,000 unit plus fleets out there?
Yeah, absolutely. We have quite a few 50 to 100 vehicle fleets. So it's the same process. We deal with lots of fleet sizes, and in the 50 to 100 vehicle range, I mean, we think there's actually a higher value add to our system, because sometimes sometimes the fleet sizes don't have specific full shop maintenance mechanics or technicians, and they may outsource some of their actual wiring issues, right? And in that situation, costs can build up pretty quick. So our system will actually pick up if it's a loose wire connection, something along those lines, rather than if you would just take that to a dealership, they'd replace it with a $2,200 wiring harness, which would increase your costs. So that's one little example, but I think there's a huge benefit add for the 50 to 100 vehicle size fleets.
Great. Thank you, Clay. So it looks like that's all the questions that we had for today. Thank you, Clay and Neil, again, for being to this month's spotlight. And thank you, Harry and Protective Insurance, for sponsoring today's webinar. Again, please visit the Protective Insurance Marketplace to take a look at Optimum Fleet Health. Click the request info button to get more information. And if you have any questions, and then of course, we have other solutions that can help solve your safety and risk management needs. Thank you everyone for joining us today for another Spotlight webinar.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone.